पुणे में
Naga political issues.
नॉर्थ ईस्ट की हर खबर से आपको कराएंगे रूबरू।
एक पूरा पहाड़ नीचे आके रास्ते में जो भी आया उसको दबा के चला गया।
नमस्कार, समाचार नॉर्थ ईस्ट में आपका स्वागत है। मैं हूं कविता। अब स्टूडियो में मैं हूं दुर्मेश।
मैं हूं रविंद्र चौहान।
मैं रश्मि भैया शेर। मैं नश्विता महन।
समाचार नॉर्थ ईस्ट हर शाम 6 बजे।
The Tupul railway yard where this massive landslide took place, there was a camp of the territorial army. There were camps of the railway. The landslide started and it came down all the way and it went down furthermore many meters down to the Nonia river. The officials of the NDRF, SDRF and also the local people who are carrying out the search and rescue operations.
The Shillong Pamai, he's the exact person just lead the rescue operation from this side. This is Saroi Pandongba village. This is a river side on the Saroi Pandongba side.
कि हम और आप कभी नहीं सोच सकते थे।
News at 5 in association with Accoland Amusement Park, Annapurna Foods, Junior Holics and Bisfarm Biscuits.
Stage set for presidential polls tomorrow. The ruling opposition make last-ditch effort to garner support for respective candidates. Assam BJP reaches out to opposition parties. Divide between AIUDF and the Congress comes to fore a day ahead of the presidential polls. AIUDF chief Badruddin Ajmal slams the APCC president Bhupen Bora. Party pledges support to opposition presidential candidate. Atsub raises Hill Areas Autonomous District Council Bill issue in Manipur again, says HAD must for all-round development of hill areas. One more body recovered from landslide tragedy site in Manipur's Nonia district. Search intensified for remaining bodies. And India's COVID vaccination drive sets 2 billion dose record in just 18 months. Prime Minister Modi hails frontline workers. Well, good evening to all of viewers and welcome to the news at 5. I'm Aaron Lingdo. We start with the breaking news this hour. The opposition has named senior Congress leader Margaret Alva as its vice presidential candidate. As many as 17 opposition parties unanimously decide to back Alva as the opposition vice presidential candidate. Now, Margaret Alva has served as the governor of states like Goa and Rajasthan. Well, the announcement came a day after the BJP-led NDA named West Bengal Governor Jagdeep Dhankar as its vice presidential candidate. Now, the announcement was made by the NCP President Sharad Pawar. Now, Pawar informed that 17 parties are in board for this unanimous decision. Well, this is the big breaking we're tracking this evening. The opposition has named the senior Congress leader Margaret Alva as its vice presidential candidate. As many as 17 opposition parties unanimously decide to back Alva as the opposition vice presidential candidate. Well, Margaret Alva has served as the governor of states like Goa and Rajasthan. Now, the announcement came a day after the BJP-led NDA named West Bengal Governor Jagdeep Dhankar as its vice presidential candidate. Now, the announcement was made by NCP President Sharad Pawar. Now, Pawar informed that 17 parties are on board for this unanimous decision. Now let's listen into what the NCP President Sharad Pawar said after the opposition named Margaret Alva as the vice presidential candidate.
देश के उपराष्ट्रपति के चुनाव के लिए हम सब के तरफ हमने एक कैंडिडेट अनाउंस करने का तय किया। कैंडिडेट आप जानते हैं श्रीमती मार्गरेट अल्वा। मार्गरेट अल्वा she was a minister in government of India. She was a Rajya Sabha member for many years. She was a governor also, and she was a person who got a vast experience in administration and in parliamentary affairs. That's why we discussed few names, and ultimately we unanimously approved the name of the Srimati Margaret Alva. The parties who are going to support this candidature, Congress, DMK, Samajwadi Party, NCP, RJD, Shiv Sena, TRS, RSP, VCK, Mani Congress, MDMK, IUML, CPI, CPIM, JML, National Congress, RLG. We are also trying to contact Mamta ji. She was leading some conference, so our contact is not established. And secondly, we also tried to contact Arvind Kejriwal, but message come from his office. The last time when we have finalized candidature for Rashtrapati, they have announced their support the day before yesterday. And here also, they are going to announce their support, I think tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Our collective thinking is on Tuesday, no, on Tuesday, 19, we'll file her nomination on behalf of all these political parties.
And moving on now to the big story from Manipur, where rescue workers have recovered one more body at the Tupul landslide tragedy site in Manipur's Nonia district. Now, as per reports, the body is said to be of a local woman who runs a shop at the site. Well, locals believe that the body is that of Thoisin Lui Gondonmei. Well, it needs to be mentioned here that with today's recovery, 56 bodies have been recovered so far from the landslide site, while 5 others are still missing. Well, this big story from Manipur, where rescue workers have recovered one more body at the Tupul landslide tragedy site at Nones district. Now, as per reports, the body is said to be of a local woman who runs a shop at the site. Well, locals believed that the body is of Thoisin Lui Gondonmei. It needs to be mentioned here that with today's recovery, 56 bodies have been recovered so far from the landslide site, while 5 others are still missing. Now, the All Tribal Students Union Manipur, or ATSUM, has reaffirmed its stand on the Manipur Hill Area's Autonomous District Council Bill 2021, urging the state government to table the bill and enact it as an act in the Manipur Legislative Assembly at the earliest. Now, the decision was taken during the second General Assembly of the student body at the Haipi village in Sadar Hills. Well, Atsum, during its assembly, discussed multiple issues confronting the tribal populace of Manipur. Well, certain resolutions and recommendations were also adopted unanimously by the student body during the assembly. Now, the executive members took a pledge which was named as the Haipi Pledge, declaring to stand united and resolute in demanding the tabling of the HAC recommended Manipur Hill Areas Autonomous District Council Bill 2021 in Manipur Legislative Assembly for protecting the constitutional rights, customary laws, and the practices of the tribal communities. Moreover, under special provisions for the tribals under Article 371C of the Indian Constitution relating to land and forests, Atsum resolved that it will not accept any land laws or forest laws with regard to the tribals enacted by the state government which undermines the special provision of the Hill people. While the second General Assembly was attended by Atsum tribunal members, senior leaders, federating units of Atsum, ANSAM, and its units, KSO, GHQ, and its units. Well, meanwhile, our colleague Lenio Krishina spoke with Atsum General Secretary Andrea Sinruang, who said that the ADC bill is a must for all-round development of the hill areas.
Andrea, Atsum has just recently conducted its second General Assembly, during which the body has reaffirmed its stand on the HAC recommended ADC Bill 2021 and urging the state government to table the bill and enact as an act in the state assembly. Can you tell us why this bill is crucial for the hill districts or the ADC?
This has been quite long, and the development in the state of Manipur, it's quite there is a huge disparity between the hills and the valley.
Yes.
Here, the ADC bill aims to strengthen the ADC institution in the hills. So, while trying to strengthen the ADC institution in the hills, we need to restructure the institution in the hills. So we need to strengthen the bill, and then this has to be tabled in the assembly and then enacted as an act.
Last year also, we have witnessed a series of agitations, economic blockades, which were called off after talks with the government. And why has the government delayed in tabling the bill in the assembly? Why do you think so?
I don't know. Maybe they are not sincere enough to uplift the position of the tribals, maybe. Because this is a constitutional right. It is duty of the state government to table it in the assembly, discuss. Yes, maybe in the bill there are certain areas which needs to be, discussed, debate. So we are asking the state government to do the same. So maybe the state government is not sincere enough to see the affairs, uplift the position of the tribals, maybe because of that.
My last question is, what will be your future course of action if the government continues to stand like this?
Yes, we need to mobilize. We have been mobilizing. We need to make people understand. Especially, we need to make our neighbor communities that this bill doesn't have any intention of, breaking the administration of the state. It will, in fact, bring, emotional integrity among the whole community of the state, and then it will bring equity development in the state. So it's overall, maybe we will have to continue mobilizing. We will have to continue talking to people, the stakeholders, that this demand has to be considered.
Well, let's move on now. The stage is set for the crucial presidential polls tomorrow, with the NDA as well as the opposition both confident of a win. It's a battle between the NDA candidate Draupadi Murmu and the opposition's joint candidate Yashwant Sinha. While the NDA candidate Murmu, former governor of Jharkhand, is likely to have the last laugh, her counterpart Sinha is undoubtedly a strong candidate with years of experience in administration and politics, inter alia his role as finance minister and the external affairs minister of India. Well, needless to say, both candidates have traveled across the country in the past few days to garner support for their candidature. But who stands where the race into Raisina? Well, let's take a look into the brief political profile of both the candidates. Well, as the first president candidate from Odisha of a major political party or alliance, Draupadi Murmu continues to break barriers. Coming from a poor tribal family in the village of Mayurbhanj, a backward district in Odisha, Murmu completed her studies despite challenging circumstances. She started her political career as a Rairangpur NAC vice president. Murmu was a member of the Odisha Legislative Assembly from Rairangpur between 2000 and 2004. The Odisha Assembly honored her with Nilakantha Award for the best MLA. Whereas 84-year-old Yashwant Sinha, who quits the BJP after being apparently sidelined, was a Minister of Finance between 1990 and 1991, when Prime Minister Chandrasekhar was in office. He was again the Minister of Finance in between March 1998 to July 2002 under Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Well, he was also the Minister of External Affairs between July 2002 to May 2004. Well, Sinha, who also an IAS officer who spent like over 24 years holding important posts during his service tenure. Now, worth mentioning here, with many of the regional parties outside the NDA ambit supporting Murmu, the presidential elections may be seen as a background leading to the parliamentary election of 2024 for the BJP. And meanwhile, BJP MLAs in Assam today campaigned for the NDA presidential candidate Draupadi Murmu ahead of the crucial voting tomorrow. The BJP ministers Sanjay Kishan, Rupesh Gowala, Teros Gowala and Morioni MLA Rupjyoti Kurmi reached out to opposition party leaders seeking support for Murmu. While the group of BJP leaders visited the residences of CLP leader Debobrata Saikia, the Congress MLA Kamalakhya De Purkyastha and the AIUDF chief Badruddin Ajmal, the AIUDF MLA Rafiqul Islam and other opposition leaders while camping for Murmu.
আদিবাসী সমাজৰ মহিলা আৰু বিশেষভাৱে আদিবাসী লোকসকলৰ প্ৰতি সন্মান জনাই আৰু মহিলা এগৰাকীৰ প্ৰতি সন্মান জনাই যেন আমি বিচাৰো অসমৰ পৰা অন্য ৰাজ্যত কি হয় নাজানো অসমৰ অত্যন্ত আমি এগৰাকী মহিলা আৰু এগৰাকী আদিবাসী সম্প্ৰদায়ৰ লোক সন্তান এগৰাকীক আমি যেন 100% ভোট দিব পাৰো ইয়াত কোনো অন্য কথা নাহে ৰাজনীতিৰ কথা নাহে যেহেতু ৰাষ্ট্ৰপতি প্ৰাৰ্থী বা ৰাষ্ট্ৰপতি নিৰ্বাচন হে আমি আহ্বান জনাবলৈ আমি অন্য আমাৰ বিৰোধী দলপতি আৰু বিৰোধী দলৰ বিধায়কসকলৰ ওচৰলৈ যাম আমি আশা ৰাখিছো যে আমি ভাৰতবৰ্ষৰ উচ্চ এই স্থানৰ বাবে যেন সকলোৱে সঁহাৰি জনায় সেইটো আশাৰে আমি আহিছো
আমি বিচাৰিছো ভাৰতবৰ্ষৰ অসমৰ যিসকল ভোটাধিকাৰ আছে বিশেষকৈ MP MLA সকলে ভোট প্ৰদান কৰক আৰু ইতিমধ্যে বহুত কেইখন ৰাজ্যত বিৰোধীও ভোট দিম বুলি এটা চিন্তা চৰ্চা কৰিছে আৰু কংগ্ৰেছৰ বহুত কেইটা ভোট আমি পাম বুলি আশা কৰিছো UDFৰো দিব বুলি আশা কৰিছো আহ্বান কৰিছো চাওক কথাটো এনেকুৱা এই ভোটটো সেইটো ভোট নহয় ন এই ভোটটো হ'ল ৰাষ্ট্ৰখনৰ ভোট ইয়াতে যোনে ভোট দিব আমি সকলোৰে ভোট বিচাৰিম ইয়াত নেলাগে বুলি কথা নাই এইটোতো ৰাজ্যসভাৰ ভোট নহয় বিৰোধী সকলোৰে ভোট বিচাৰিছো আমি স্পেচিফিক আৰু কোৱা নাই
মইতো যেহেতু দলৰ পৰা নিলম্বিত হৈ আছো মই এতে অকলশৰীয়া মোৰ এটাই লক্ষ্য বিজেপি বিৰোধী প্ৰাৰ্থীক ভোট দিম বাকি নাজানো কাক দিম বুলি ক'লে বিজেপি বিৰোধী প্ৰাৰ্থী
Meanwhile, the BJP-led alliance in Assam conducted a mock test last night ahead of the presidential polls. The mock test was conducted in the presence of Chief Minister Dr. Hemanta Biswa Sharma, the Assam BJP leaders and MLAs, and leaders of the alliance partners, namely the AGP and the UPPL. While the mock test was held to deliberate on voting for the presidential polls scheduled to be held tomorrow. The meeting will be conducted today as well. Now, meanwhile, the Aam Aadmi Party has decided to support Yashwant Sinha, the opposition candidate for the presidential election. The decision was taken at a meeting of the Political Affairs Committee, the highest decision-making body of the party, which was held under the leadership of the Aam Aadmi Party chief, Arvind Kejriwal, earlier in the day. Now, the PAC unanimously decided that the Aam Aadmi Party will support Yashwant Sinha while duly acknowledging Draupadi Murmu's candidature as well. And with that, we'll take a very short break. More news when we return. Stay with us.
Railway yard where this massive landslide took place. There was a camp of the territorial army. There were camps of the railway. The landslide started and it came down all the way and it went down furthermore many meters down to the Nonia river. The officials of the NDRF, SDRF and also the local people who are carrying out the search and rescue operations.
The Shillong Pamay, he's the exact person just lead the rescue operation from this side. This is Saroi Pandongba village. This is a river side on the Saroi Pandongba side.
कि हम और आप कभी नहीं सोच सकते थे कि डिमा हासों में इस तरह का न्यू हाफलोंग रेलवे स्टेशन इतना कुछ हो सकता है और इसी रेलवे स्टेशन में विस्टाडूम जैसा ट्रेन यहाँ पर स्पेशल टूरिस्ट आने जाने के लिए भी यहाँ पे रिसेंटली चलाया दिया गया.
You can see the people are trying. The local people are trying to help each other.
News to keep you ahead. Evening Prime, every day at 7 p.m.
जाएंगे हम वहां जहां की हर खबर छुप जाती है और दिखाएंगे वो जो रहता है आपकी नजरों से उझट. पहुंचेंगे हम पूर्वोत्तर के हर कोने में.
Naga political issues.
नॉर्थ ईस्ट की हर खबर से आपको कराएंगे रूबरू.
एक पूरा पहाड़ नीचे आके रास्ते में जो भी आया उसको दबा के चला गया.
नमस्कार, समाचार नॉर्थ ईस्ट में आपका स्वागत है. मैं हूं कविता. स्टूडियो में मैं हूं दुर्मेश.
मैं हूं रविंद्र चौहान.
मैं रश्मि प्रिया शेर. मैं नश्विता महन.
समाचार नॉर्थ ईस्ट हर शाम 6 बजे.
The Tupul railway yard where this massive landslide took place. There was a camp of the territorial army. There were camps of the railway. The landslide started and it came down all the way and it went down furthermore many meters down to the Nonia river. The officials of the NDRF, SDRF and also the local people who are carrying out the search and rescue operations.
The Shillong Pamay, he's the exact person just lead the rescue operation from this side. This is Saroi Pandongba village. This is a river side on the Saroi Pandongba side.
कि हम और आप कभी नहीं सोच सकते थे कि डिमा हासों में इस तरह का न्यू हाफलोंग रेलवे स्टेशन इतना कुछ हो सकता है और इसी रेलवे स्टेशन में विस्टाडूम जैसा ट्रेन यहाँ पर स्पेशल टूरिस्ट आने जाने के लिए भी यहाँ पे रिसेंटली चलाया दिया गया.
You can see the people are trying. The local people are trying to help each other.
News to keep you ahead. Evening Prime, every day at 7 p.m.
जाएंगे हम वहां जहां की हर खबर छुप जाती है और दिखाएंगे वो जो रहता है आपकी नजरों से उझट.
Welcome back, viewers, and thank you for staying on. Before we move any further, let's take a look at your headlines one more time. Well, stage set for presidential polls tomorrow. Ruling opposition make last-ditch effort to garner support for respective candidates. Assam BJP reaches out to opposition parties. Divide between the AIUDF and the Congress comes to fore a day ahead of presidential polls. The AIUDF chief Badruddin Ajmal slams APCC President Bhupen Bora. Party pledges support to opposition presidential candidate. Atsum raises Hill Area's Autonomous District Council bill issue in Manipur again. Says HAD must for all round development of the hill areas. One more body recovered from landslide tragedy site in Manipur's Nonia district. Search intensified for the remaining bodies. And India's COVID vaccination drive sets 2 billion dose record in just 18 months. Prime Minister Modi hails frontline workers. Now, the difference between the AIUDF and the Congress has come to the fore ahead of the presidential polls. The AIUDF chief, Badruddin Ajmal, while asserting that his party will maintain its anti-BJP stand and support the opposition presidential candidate, lashed out at the Congress in Assam. Ajmal alleged that the Assam Congress is acting at the behest of the BJP and targeting the AIUDF bastions. Well, Ajmal also claimed that the Bhupen Bora days as the Assam Congress chief are numbered and that the latter has no locus standi to speak against the AIUDF.
তো সবেই যাব লাগে ভোট বিচাৰি আহিছে এইটো কৰিব লাগে একজন ট্ৰাইবেল মহিলা ভূপেন বৰা যদি খাদ্দাৰ কৈছে ফানি দেব যদি খাদ্দাৰ কৈছে আমি কোৰ্টত যাম লাগে হাই কোৰ্ট নহয় সুপ্ৰিম কোৰ্ট লৈকে যাম খাদ্দাৰ লফ্জ ইস্তেমাল কৰিব নোৱাৰে পলিটিক্সত এইটো আমি চ্যালেঞ্জ কৰিম বুজি পাইছে নেকি এইটো এনেকুৱা নাযাব বহুত এইটো হ'ব যে কালিৰ ইলেকশ্যনত আমি কোন সাইডে থাকিম কাক আমি ভোট দিম এটা আমার পার্টি ক্লিয়ার ডিসিশন হয়ে গেছে এটা আপনাদের মাধ্যমে আমি গোটে খবর জানাই দিল এতিয়া মোর কথাটো ইন্টারভিউ তো হয়ে গেছে আপনাদের কইছে আমি আগে খবর লইছো বলে খালি আমার ইয়াত আহিছে নাকি কোনো ষড়যন্ত্র হব নাকি মিডিয়া ইয়াত আছে দেখাই দিব বলে আজমল সাহেব তো বিজেপির লগত গল কইছে না আমি দেবব্রত সরকারের তাত কইছো আপনার ইয়াত আহিছো তার পিছত মই ঘৰৰ পৰা ওলাইছো আমার আগৰ পৰাই বিজেপি বিৰুদ্ধে আমার স্থিতি আগৰ পৰা আছে জন্মৰ দিন পৰা আছে আপোনালোকে জানে আমার এন্টি বিজেপি স্ট্যান্ড আছে আমার আর এইটোর উপরে আমি যি হোক যেনেকাই হোক কংগ্রেসে যিমান বেয়া কোক আর পারক ইসকলে তো পলিটিক্স কৰি আছে আমি পলিটিক্স কৰা নাই আমি আমার লাইনত আছো এতিয়াই মই শুনিছো কোন একজন ভাইয়ে কৈছে বোলে ভূপেন বৰা বিজি কৈছে ইউডিএফ হত্যাৰ পাৰ্টি হত্যাৰ যদি কৈ থাকে মই আপোনালোকৰ মাধ্যমত আমি চেক কৰিম যদি হয় আপনি হাইকোর্টের পৰা লৈ সেন্ট আমি কি নাম তোমাৰ সুপ্রিম কোর্টে আমি যাম চ্যালেঞ্জ করি ভূপেন বরা যদি কৈ থাকে হি কোন সন্দেহ করেন না হি কোন হুইজি আমার ইন্টিগ্রিটির উপরে সন্দেহ করিব ভূপেন বরা হুইজি ই নিজের চাকরি ফিকির করক কিমান দিন আরো আছে এটু চিন্তা করক বেশি দিন নাই যাব কালি আমার বিস্তারিত মাত হয়েছে কি নাম তোমার খালগেজির লগত কালিও ফোন আহিছিল মই কৈছো আপনাদের খবর লো ये तो बेसी दिन ना থাকে ভাই 10-15 दिन का आदमी है যিসকলে আমার উপর দুধ চাপিবলৈ বিচাৰি আছে যে দুষ্টু ঝাপি দিব আমার উপর দুষ্টু ঝাপি দিব আমার উপর আর মাইনরিটির মানুষের ভিতৰত এটা মেসেজ যাব বলে বিজেপি কংগ্রেসে বিজেপি লগৰ বুঝাবুঝি কৰিছে আমি কৈ আছো কংগ্রেসে 100% বিজেপি লগৰ বুঝাবুঝি কৰি চলি আছে কেনে বিজেপি কংগ্রেসে যিমান প্রোগ্রাম বানাই আছে আমার এরিয়াত বানাই আছে আমার বিরুদ্ধে বানাই আছে আমার লগত যুঁজি আছে বিজেপির লগত যুঁজার সাহস নাই আর জানে যে বিজেপির লগৰ ভিতরে 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 সবর পুটলা চালু আছে এইটোৰ কাৰণে চলি আছে
Let's take a look now at another story where India established a new milestone today by administering over 2 billion COVID vaccine doses months after the launch of the nationwide vaccination drive on January the 16th, 2021. Well, earlier last year, the country had administered 1 billion doses within 9 months of the start of the vaccination drive. While addressing on the occasion, the Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia said that it is a matter of pride for the country and India has shown the way. Meanwhile, soon after India crossed the 200 crore vaccination mark, the Union Minister also took to Twitter, calling the achievement a day to remember forever. Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia also launched the COVID vaccination Amrit Mahotsavs at COVID vaccination camp in Nirman Bhavan on Friday and appealed to the masses to get the free dose. Well, the centre has announced a special drive, COVID vaccination Amrit Mahotsav, to be launched to provide free precaution doses at all government COVID vaccination centres for persons aged 18 years and above for 75 days from July the 15th to September the 30th, 2022. All those eligible for the precaution dose include all persons above 18 years who have completed 6 months from the date of administration of the second dose.
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के मार्गदर्शन में 16 जनवरी 2021 को शुरू हुए कोविड टीकाकरण अभियान ने आज 200 करोड़ टीकाकरण का लक्ष्य पूरा कर लिया है। यह देश और देशवासियों के लिए गौरव की बात है। इतना मुश्किल लक्ष्य हमने मात्र 18 महीने में हासिल कर लिया है। जहां विश्व में कई देश आज भी कोविड महामारी से जूझ रहे हैं, वही भारत ने 200 करोड़ टीके लगाकर न सिर्फ एक नया कीर्तिमान स्थापित किया है, बल्कि हमने एक नई दिशा भी दिखाई है। मैं इस उपलब्धि के लिए सभी देशवासियों को बधाई देता हूं। साथ ही मैं इस महान कार्य को सफल बनाने में जुटे हमारे सभी साथियों, विशेषकर स्वास्थ्य और टीकाकरण कर्मियों को हार्दिक धन्यवाद करता हूं।
And meanwhile, the first Indian elected regional director of the World Health Organization's Southeast Asia region, Dr. Poonam Ketrapal Singh, today congratulated India for setting a new record by administering 2 billion vaccine doses within months. Dr. Singh said that this is yet another evidence of the country's commitment and efforts to minimize the impact of the ongoing pandemic.
Congratulations, India, for administering over 2 billion COVID-19 vaccine doses. This is yet another evidence of the country's commitment and efforts to minimize the impact of the ongoing pandemic. COVID-19 vaccines provide protection against severe disease and death for all variants. We must continue our efforts to ensure everyone, everywhere, benefits from these life-saving vaccines. Let us not forget that the pandemic is still around. Even after taking the vaccine, we must remember to take all precautionary measures to curtail the virus spread.
And moving on now, the Assam Chief Minister Dr. Hemanta Biswa Sharma today launched the month-long Chief Minister's Institutional Plantation Program. Now, on the occasion, Chief Minister Sharma planted trees at the D block of Janata Bhavan. He was accompanied by Ministers Keshab Mohanta, Parimal Suklabedia, Nandita Gorlosa, UG Brahma, and Chief Secretary Jishnu Borua. Now, it may be mentioned here that the special plantation drive will be carried out for the next 1 month and conclude on August the 15th. Now, the governor of Arunachal Pradesh, Brigadier Dr. B.D. Mishra, retired, who is on an official tour to the national capital in New Delhi, released a book titled Functional Foods Processing and Packaging by Professor Dr. Tanveer Alam. the Institute of Packaging, and Professor Dr. Saket Kushwana, who is the Vice Chancellor, Rajiv Gandhi Central University in Itanagar, Arunachal Pradesh, yesterday at the Arunachal House in Chanakyapuri in New Delhi. Well, also in attendance were Dr. Sanjay Chattopadhyay, the Department of Chemicals and Petrochemicals, Professor Dr. Sarwar Alam, the Dean of Hamrad. Now, the governor, while complimenting the authors, highlighted the recent works being done by the Arunachal Pradesh government in the food processing and packaging sector. He reiterated the importance of packaging of traditional and ethnic food products of the region. Now, meanwhile, Professor Dr. Tanveer Alam presented 2 of his recently published books on packaging of fruits and vegetables and the quality control of food packaging material to the governor. Now, 26 students had to be rushed to a hospital after falling sick from severe food poisoning in Tripura's Dhalai district. The incident was reported from the Chaumanu Government English Medium SB School in Dhalai district. 26 students studying in classes 1 to 3 fell ill after consuming midday meal at the school. Students complained of stomach pain and started vomiting, after which they were rushed to the Chaumanu hospital for treatment. Well, currently, the students are being treated at the hospital.
আমরা তো বাড়িতে আসলাম স্কুল থেকে আইয়া আমি এখানে খবর আইয়া পাইছি যে ঈশ্বরী খাইয়া বলে একটা অসুস্থ হয়ে পড়ছে হসপিটালে আইয়া এটা ছেলেরা জানে আর কি খাইতে সময় বলে কিছু ওষুধের গন্ধ এরকম মানে অনুভব করছে তার কিছুক্ষণ পরে অনেকে ফিট হয়েছে বা পেট ব্যথা শুরু হয়ে গেছে এভাবে চলছিল আর কি
Well, we also have reactions coming in from the cook who had prepared the midday meal for the students. Let's listen in.
রান্না তো করলাম স্যার ভালো ডাল রান্না দিছি দোকান থেকে আলু দিছি আজকে সবজি এমনি কিছু দিছি না ডাল চাল আলু আজকে খিচুড়ি স্যার মানে আমরা তো রান্না কইরা খাবাইয়া তারা আমরা ঘরে গেছি আমার কিছু অনেক পরে ওই 11:30-12টার দিকে খাবাই গেছি তারপরে দিয়ে ইনচার্জ গাড়ি ছাত্র কাইন্দা গাড়ি লয়ে যেতে আমি ইনচার্জরা কইছি স্যার কিতা কয় আইয়েন তারপর হসপিটাল গেলাম গিয়া দেখি ছাত্র 30-35 জন নাই সিটের মধ্যে ফেলেন না কেউ কয় ফাটা ব্যথা করে কেউ মাথা ব্যথা মাথা ঘুরায় ওইটা আর কি স্যার
তো অতদিন ধরে যে খিচুড়ি খাওয়াইতেছে
3 দিন তো এরকম হইছে না স্যার
তো আজকে কি কারণে হইছে এটা কথা না
এইটা হইতো স্যার আমারও মাথা শূন্য
এটা কি চালটি কি আগের চাল না এটা নতুন
চাল চালে বস্তা থেকে দিছে ডাল দোকান থেকে আইনা দিছে
Shifting focus now to Churachandpur, many paddy fields previously fed by the left canal of the Kugra multi-purpose dam have not seen paddy till date, as Water Resource Department could not clear the debris and siltation on the canal, thereby obstructing the flow of water to the paddy fields. The dam's left side canal is being manned by the KCD2 under the supervision of Alam as the executive engineer. However, due to the inability of the department in clearing the debris and siltation, irrigation water from the canal could not reach the paddy fields. Now, when the farmers' community members inquired, officials of the department responded that there is no fund for clearing the canal and further stated the lack of manpower. Therefore, the farmers took the initiative to clear the canal on their own. Meanwhile, local MLA LM Khaute provided financial assistance to the farmers for clearing the debris and siltation of the canal, which extended to around 3 kilometers. And on Saturday, the additional DC Churachandpur, Khai Kho Pao, went to the spot to take stock of the situation, and this is what he had to say.
The session or the Laurup of this area, the chairman and secretary wrote a letter to DC to clear the blockage of canal for irrigation purpose. With the help of the local MLA, the Farmers Association took up cleaning or clearing the debris or the siltation of the left side canal so that the paddy field got irrigation or water. Residentials has objected to the clearing of the canal because the debris were blocking the roadway. I have requested the residential nearby the canal that the work or the debris should be clear so that their passage to the residents is not blocked. During the clearing, I hope that the department may also come and take initiative.
Well, have you heard about Northeast First Chocolate Village? Well, if not, then let us take you on a virtual tour to the remote village of Daragiri, Kachharipara in Assam's Gwalpara, which has gained popularity as the chocolate village. Yes, that's right, viewers. The village, in fact, has become famous as the only chocolate village in the entire Northeast. And what makes the village so special is that the district administration, for the very first time, launched a mega plantation drive of cocoa seeds in the village. It is learned that cocoa plantation will be done in 72 acres of land belonging to 77 families. The task will be carried out with full cooperation with the district administration. Now, the move is aimed at expanding homegrown chocolates across Assam as well as the Northeast.
এইটো চকলেট গছটো বা কোকো গছটো এনেকুৱা যে সি শ্বেডত হ'ব লাগে অলপমান তাৰমানে ডাঙৰ গছৰ তলত সি হয় গতিকে সেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ যদি আমি চিন্তা কৰিব পাৰোঁ তেনেহ'লে নিশ্চয়কৈ এইখন গাঁৱৰ যিখিনি দুখীয়া মানুহ আছে বা হেৰি মানুহ আছে যাৰ ধৰক মাটি আছে কিন্তু মানে সম্বল নাই তেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ মানুহখিনি যদি আমি লাহেকৈ এই কোকো গছ ৰোপণ কৰি পেলাই তাৰ লগত যিটো সম্ভাৱনা আছে ধৰক আজি কোকো যিটো হয় তাৰ পৰা পাউডাৰ বনাই ধৰক আমাৰ বহুত ধৰণৰ প্ৰডাক্টছ বনোৱা হয় যেনেকৈ চকলেট লগত ধৰক পেষ্ট্ৰিজ আদি যথেষ্টখিনি তাৰ লগত জড়িত বস্তুৰ লগত আমি কোকো পাউডাৰটো ইউজ কৰোঁ গতিকে সেইটো যদি আমি লাহেকৈ বাহিৰত প্ৰডাক্টটো বিক্ৰী কৰিব পাৰোঁ বা নহ'লেও ইয়াতে ধৰক আমি নিজে কেক বনোৱা বা চকলেট বনোৱা যদি এটা সৰুকৈ প্ৰতিষ্ঠান এটা কৰিব পাৰোঁ যিটো ধৰক কেৰেলাত মই নিজে গৈ দেখি আহিছিলোঁ কেৰেলাত তেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ বহুত হেৰি আছে চাহ বাগান এখন খুলিলে চাহ বাগানৰ বিভিন্ন ধৰণৰ ভেৰাইটি উলিয়াই দিয়ে তেওঁলোকে গতিকে কুটিৰ যিটো শিল্প সেই শিল্পীৰ লগত মানে এই বস্তুবিলাক জড়িত হৈ যায়
কিন্তু বাইদেৱে আজি চকলেট গছৰ গাঁও আমাৰ কাছাৰীপাৰা ৰাজহ গাঁৱটো চকলেট ৰোৱা পৰ্বটো আৰম্ভ কৰিলে আমি বহুত সুখী যেহেতু এজন দায়িত্বশীল উপায়ুক্ত বাইদেৱে আমাৰ গাঁওখনক আজি চকলেট গছটো ৰোপণ কৰি আৰম্ভ কৰিলে আৰু আমি ভৱিষ্যতে আৰু তেনেকুৱা মানে চকলেট গছটো লৈ বহুত সপোন দেখিছোঁ
Moving from the chocolate story a bit, the 16th round of Corps Commander level talks is underway between India and China at Chushul on the Indian side as the two sides attempt to revive the stalled process of disengagement and de-escalation in eastern Ladakh. Well, talks began this morning at Chushul's border personnel meeting point. Well, the Indian side is led by Lieutenant General Anindya Sengupta, the 14th Corps Commander. While an agreement for the disengagement from patrolling point 15 was close by in the last few rounds of talks, China's refusal to discuss other friction areas, Demshok and Depsang, maintaining that they are not a part of the current standoff. However, India has been insisting on comprehensive disengagement and de-escalation to end the ongoing standoff in eastern Ladakh. Well, since the standoff began in May 2020, the two sides have so far held 15 rounds of talks with disengagement undertaken from both sides of Pangong So in February 2021, in addition to Galwan in 2020 after the violent clash. Now, shortly after the 15th round of talks on March, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi had visited India while he and Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar met last week on the sidelines of the G20 Foreign Ministers meeting in Bali, where they discussed the situation along the line of actual control. Well, is India on the verge of confirming a second case of monkeypox virus? Well, a child was admitted to GGH Hospital Vijayawada in Andhra Pradesh with monkeypox-like symptoms today. Well, notably, blood samples have been sent to Pune and report for the same is awaited. Meanwhile, the family of the child is kept under home quarantine. And according to the superintendent of GGH Hospital, Vijayawada N. Rao, the family has just returned to India from a Saudi Arabia tour yesterday. Well, it may be mentioned that if confirmed, this would be the country's second confirmed case of monkeypox. The first case of the deceased was detected from a man who reached Kannur district in Kerala from a Middle East country. Now, meanwhile, the MHA of India has issued guidelines of general precautionary measures and symptoms detection to curtail the disease. Moreover, surveillance and timely identification of new patients are emphasized as critical public health measures for the outbreak containment in the guidelines issued by the government. Three aircrafts of international airlines made emergency landings at various airports in the country in the past 48 hours, making it a day of technical emergencies for various airlines. Well, a senior official in the Directorate General of Civil Aviation informed that these landings were made in Calicut, Chennai, and Kolkata. And as per reports, all emergency landings happened because of various technical issues. The Air Arabia aircraft, while operating flight G9-426 from Sharjah to Cochin, was involved in a hydraulic failure. The aircraft landed safely on the runway. The aircraft has been towed to the bay. Now, in another incident on July the 16th, an aircraft of Ethiopian Airlines from Addis Ababa to Bangkok made an emergency landing at Kolkata airport due to a pressurization issue. And in a third similar incident, on July the 15th, an aircraft to Sri Lanka Airlines made an emergency landing at Chennai Airport due to a hydraulic issue again. Now, meanwhile, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation has ordered a detailed probe into all the incidents. Earlier in the day, hours after an Indigo flight bound for Sharjah was forced to divert to Karachi after the crew noticed an engine problem, yet another Indian aircraft this time, Air India Express flight 4355 bound for Dubai from Calicut, was forced to divert to Muscat after a burning smell emitted from one of the vents in the forward gallery. And moving on now, in a bid to improve the training of cricketers, the Tripura Cricket Association has started a players' hostel facility in the Maharaja Bir Bikram Stadium at Agartala in Tripura. Now, the 50-seater hostel was inaugurated today by Chief Minister Manik Saha for budding cricketers by the Tripura Cricket Association. Meanwhile, the Chief Minister addressing the gathering said that the state government under the Khelo India scheme of the central government is emphasizing on improving the sports infrastructure across the state. While praising the role of Tripura Cricket Association, Chief Minister Saha, who was once the president of the association, said that the class of cricketers being produced here is improving, with various facilities being provided along with coaching under renowned cricketers. Well, besides, the Chief Minister was also felicitated by the President of Tripura Cricket Association, Tapan Lodh, in the presence of other office bearers.
খেলো ইন্ডিয়ার কর্মসূচিতে কয় জেলায় আরেকটি সিনথেটিক ফুটবল টার্ফ নির্মাণের জন্য আমরা চেষ্টা করছি এবং তার জন্য 5 কোটি টাকা ব্যয় হবে। শুধু তাই নয়, পানি সাগরে একটা খেলো ইন্ডিয়ার কর্মসূচিতে সেখানেও একটি সুইমিং পুল আমরা এর মধ্যে শুরু করতে যাচ্ছি এবং সেখানেও প্রায় 5 কোটি টাকা ব্যয় হবে। দশরথদেব স্টেট স্পোর্টস কমপ্লেক্সে সিনথেটিক অ্যাথলেটিক্স ট্র্যাক নির্মাণের জন্য আমরা ভিত্তিপ্রস্তর আমরা এখানে ফাউন্ডেশন আমরা করেছি। 1 বছরের মধ্যে নির্মাণ কাজ কমপ্লিট হয়ে যাবে এবং এর জন্য ব্যয় হবে প্রায় 7 কোটি টাকা। ত্রিপুরা সরকার খেলাধুলার উন্নতির লক্ষ্যে আমরা চেষ্টা করব। আমি কয়েকটা উদাহরণ আপনাদের দিলাম যে পয়সার কোনো অসুবিধা নেই, খালি ইচ্ছা থাকলে, তবে সদিচ্ছা থাকলে তবেই সেটা সম্ভব। ত্রিপুরা ক্রিকেট অ্যাসোসিয়েশনের তো কথা বলে লাভ নেই, অলরেডি আমাদের আরেকটা স্টেডিয়াম যেটা ধর্মনগরে অলরেডি কমপ্লিট হয়ে গেছে, খালি ইনোগ্রেশন বাকি। আমি নিশ্চিত যে আগামী দিনে ত্রিপুরার ক্রিকেটে মান অনেক বেশি দূর যাবে।
And on to some sports update now. India's PV Sindhu today defeated China's Wang Zhiyi 21-9, 11-21, 21-15 in the final match of the women's singles at the Singapore Open 2022. Well, the two-time Olympic medalist won the first game in a dominating fashion before she lost the second game. The match went into the decider where Sindhu bounced back beautifully to clinch her maiden Super 500 title of the year 2022. Wang Zhiyi fought well till the end, but Sindhu's early advantage in the final game played a crucial role in the latter's victory. Well, earlier Sindhu had defeated Siana Kawakami of Japan 21-15, 21-7 in a 32-minute semi-final match to enter the summit clash. Well, the Singapore Open 2022 also happens to be Sindhu's third title of the 2022 season after winning the Saeed Modi International and Swiss Open BWF Super 300 titles. The Indian Olympic Association has announced a 322-member strong Indian quad, including 215 athletes and 107 officials and support staff for the Birmingham Commonwealth Games 2022, scheduled to begin from July the 28th, 2022. Now, some prominent names in the squad includes Olympic medalist Neeraj Chopra, PV Sindhu, Mirabai Chanu, Lavlina Borgohain, Bajrang Punia, Ravi Kumar Dahiya, defending CWG champions Manika Batra and Vinesh Fogart, as well as 2018 Asian Games gold medalists Tajendrapal Singh Toor, Hima Das and Amit Panghal. Well, the squad will look to improve upon its Gold Coast 2018 CWG performance, where it finished third behind traditional powerhouses in Australia and England. Well, Rajesh Bhandari, the Vice President of Boxing Federation of India, has been appointed the Chief de Mission of the squad. Well, Team India will compete in 15 sporting disciplines as well as 4 disciplines in the para sports category. Some of the disciplines where India looks to perform well include traditionally strong disciplines like boxing, badminton, hockey, weightlifting, women's cricket, and wrestling. Coming back to the top story, the opposition has named senior Congress leader Margaret Alva as its vice presidential candidate. As many as 17 opposition parties unanimously decided to back Alva as the opposition vice presidential candidate. Margaret Alva has served as the governor of states like Goa and Rajasthan. And the announcement came a day after the BJP-led NDA named West Bengal Governor Jagdeep Dhankar as its vice presidential candidate. Well, the announcement was made by the NCP president Sharad Pawar. Now, Pawar informed that 17 parties are on board for this unanimous decision. And let's listen in to what the NCP president Sharad Pawar said after the opposition named Margaret Alva as the vice presidential candidate.
देश के उपराष्ट्रपति के चुनाव के लिए हम सब के तरफ हमने एक कैंडिडेट अनाउंस करने का तय किया। कैंडिडेट आप जानते हैं श्रीमती मार्गरेट अल्वा। Margaret Alva. She was a minister in government of India. She was a Rajya Sabha member for many years. She was a governor also, and she was a person who got a vast experience in administration and in parliamentary affairs. That's why we discussed few names, and ultimately we unanimously approved the name of the Srimati Margaret Alva. The parties who are going to support this candidature, Congress, GMK, Samajwadi Party, NCP, RJD, Shiv Sena, TRS, RSP, VCK, Mani Congress, MGMK, IUML, CPI, CPIM, JMM, National Congress, RLG. We are also trying to contact Mamata ji. She was leading some conference, so our contact is not established. And secondly, we also tried to contact Arvind Kejriwal, but message come from his office. The last time when we have finalized candidature for Rashtrapati, they have announced their support the day before yesterday. And here also, they are going to announce their support, I think tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Our collective thinking is on Tuesday, no, on Tuesday, 19, we'll file her nomination on behalf of all these political parties.
And that's all we have for you on the news at 5. I'm Aaron Lingdo. Thanks for watching.
जाएंगे हम वहां जहां की हर खबर छुप जाती है और दिखाएंगे वो जो रहता है आपकी नजरों से ओझल। पहुंचेंगे हम पूर्वोत्तर के हर कोने में।
Naga political issues.
नॉर्थ ईस्ट की हर खबर से आपको कराएंगे रूबरू।
एक पूरा पहाड़ नीचे आके